Enjoy early access to ad-free episodes each week when you subscribe to Wedding Planning Podcast Premium in Apple Podcasts. Enjoy the show. Welcome to this week's episode of the Wedding Planning Podcast, and thank you, as always, for spending a few minutes of your Wednesday with me, talking about all things wedding. I have a really fun show to share with you today with a little bit of everything. I've got some of your questions to feature, and I have some highlights to share from a really unique and memorable wedding that we attended just this past weekend. Before we get there, I have a quick convo to share with my brother and sister-in-law that my husband and I had with them about their March 2025 wedding at the Royal Park Hotel in Rochester, Michigan. If that sounds familiar, we also talked about their wedding in a recap style episode dated May 12th of 2025. So if you want a little more background and detail on their actual wedding and you missed that show, feel free to go back and have a listen. I know that when you're in the thick of wedding planning, it can feel like certain tasks or questions take up just a crazy amount of you and your partner's time and brain space. So I think it's always really refreshing to hear from a couple who's been there, done that, and has some valuable takeaways that maybe you can apply to your own situation to save yourselves lots of unnecessary worry and doubt and stress. Before I play the clip, and just to set the scene here, my husband John is from Michigan, and we travel there twice a year from San Diego, California, where we live, to spend time with our family and all of our friends. His parents have a primary home downstate and also a beautiful lake cabin up north, which is where we end up spending the majority of our time during our summer visit. And then we'll go to the lake in the wintertime too and ice fish and play in the snow, which we do not get to do in California and my kids absolutely love. But for the summertime, we're typically down on the dock doing all the summer fun lake activities. This particular July day was absolutely beautiful. It was hot. It was full of pancakes, ice cream, cold beer, swimming and fishing. What I would call the perfect summer day. We were all down at the lake on the dock. Mike and Laura are my brother and sister-in-law. You'll hear a lot in this clip from my husband, John. Their golden doodle, Luna, was also padding around. And then my father-in-law joined us in mid-conversation, which you'll hear as well. So we're all hanging out together when our group conversation turned to some of their recap thoughts about their March 2025 wedding. I didn't start recording right away, so you won't hear this part, but John kicked things off by essentially asking, now that the few months have passed since your wedding, what are some of the things that went really well, and what would you have done differently? And then the conversation just kind of naturally flowed from there. All right, carry on.
Yeah, there just wasn't a lot of time to buy fluff items and focus on things that weren't that important. I don't know, like all the people do photo booths and they do the props and grand entrances and stuff that just stresses you out for no reason.
When did you guys get engaged? Was it August?
Was it July or August? Was it August?
Yep.
And you were married within the year.
Yeah, we started planning in November.
Wow.
Well, after the Beaver Island thing.
So you guys basically did everything in 4 months.
Yeah.
And you would do that again, given the fact that I feel like when you went to that whatever session with the other couples and they're like
they were
a year plus out,
and
they're like,
and they were stressing out over things that I don't even know if some of those menus would be available in a year. And they had entire families of people. It was $60 each for us to attend that tasting.
Yeah.
Some people had both of their parents, 4 parents, and siblings weighing in.
Was that through a venue or a catering?
Our venue.
The venue, the Royal Park, in one of their ballrooms, they had a big group tasting event.
That's kind of weird.
It was a lot bigger than I expected it to be. I mean, it was a ballroom full of people trying with all their future weddings. But some people brought 6 people. That's just so many opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that is
many.
interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like you have way too many cooks in
Yeah.
the kitchen, and then if someone's like, "Oh, this salmon is so bad, don't ever serve this,"
Yeah.
and then you want to serve it,
Yeah.
and then you have that in the back of your mind
Yeah.
is like,
Yeah, we very much felt like the longer time period you have, the more stuff you were going to add in. And,
well, I can't. I mean, I'm sure you guys said this in real time, and I'm sure you're also feeling it now. Like, instead of having every moment of the summer being like our wedding,
Yeah.
like in your mind, not in my mind, but in your mind, now it's like, no, we're gonna go for 4th of July. We'll go to my parents. We'll hang out here. Now we're gonna go camping, and it's not like that's the constant driving vision of.
Well, I remember when we got engaged, like my first thought was I don't want to have a wedding. I just want to be married.
Yeah.
And I think the quickness that we had the wedding really
Helped serve
helped to
that
have the
need.
best of both worlds. We did have a great, amazing wedding, but it wasn't like we didn't control our lives for 2 years like some people.
I think it's just kept it intentional. And, you know.
Well, and that felt like what you guys that kind of felt true to who you guys are. Like, it's not like you guys are going to plan 2 years of a wedding, like, and make it all about, like, that's just not who you guys are.
Yeah.
What are, like, obviously everything went well. What are some, like, okay, this wasn't needed. Had I do it again, I would have dumped this, or some behind the scenes drama that came out afterwards, or
We had way too much food in the suite.
okay.
Bought too much food for day of, which was hard to gauge because we didn't have a wedding party. But we still wanted to feed you guys because you were there all day. But probably didn't need all of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And way too much food in the guys and the girls, or just in both?
Yeah,
okay.
both.
So what would you have cut it down to, or what would you have done differently then?
Half of the food that we
Just half of
Kept
what
a little lighter
Yeah.
since people weren't really.
Food is amazing.
Yeah, it was
good.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Bought too much booze for the after party.
How much did you buy?
Filled up like my whole big cooler,
With like beer and
just
stuff?
beer and everything. So we just finished the rest of that last weekend.
Well, it's not going to go to waste, so it's not
Right.
like, I mean, okay.
For
Too
the
much
ceremony
food.
itself, I don't know. In the reception,
No, I wouldn't. We intentionally cut out any extra stuff that we knew we didn't. If we had an inkling of it not really wanting to do it, we didn't really do it.
Right.
So.
Well, I feel like in the early stages, I remember us having a conversation where you felt like, I feel like we should like plan something like during the reception or like to keep people.
Yeah, to keep
and I don't
people
feel like that was
interested.
needed at all.
No,
you didn't
I
do
don't
anything,
think
and it
it
wasn't
was.
needed at all.
yeah. I
But you
agree.
probably didn't know. You probably didn't know how it was going to go.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you could script like people dance, wanting to dance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your
I
brother
didn't
and
expect it to be that
sister-in-law,
much of a
like her
party.
just.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, Wayside 2005 and just making that a reality, or even the kids like
Yeah.
passionately
The kids.
dancing and
I
driving
could
the
never
dance
imagine
floor.
the kids being that much of an amazing impact.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was,
that was shocking
They made it really fun.
in a good way.
That was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
That was the best dance floor I've been on in a really, really
Really?
long time.
Well, and you always want that, but
Yeah.
like you can't
predict it,
create that. It
Can't-
has to be
yeah.
organic.
Can't force it.
There's no way to there's no way.
Yeah.
And some of that's the DJ doing the right stuff.
Yeah.
Some of that's the
I'm just going to break in for a moment for context. My father-in-law came down to the dock here at this next part, and he offers his thoughts on the ceremony and the reception setup. Everything ultimately took place in the same beautiful glass ceiling atrium, with the ceremony chairs and archway being quickly reconfigured during the cocktail hour. For the reception, Mike and Laura chose 2 long tables, one down each side of the room, and then the center space was open for dancing.
I like the setup. I like the setup was pretty for the ceremony, and then just be able to
Just staying there. And,
just stay and then just move
Yeah.
the chairs around a little
it
bit.
was very intimate.
the long tables. That was a
Yeah.
huge win. Like I've
Yeah.
never been to a wedding like that. I thought that was awesome.
It
Was
felt
that
very.
Did you guys like that, or was it
I love
weird?
that. It felt very communal. And
Yeah.
That was
that's
way
what we were
cool.
going for.
Yeah, that
Is
was.
it
cool.
wanted
was it
to-
easy enough to talk to people
Yeah.
around you?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
That's
Definitely.
good.
I almost feel like you could maybe talk to more people in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
because once people got up, then you could still like move around if you wanted
Instead of
to.
like
and-
a round table or something, you got up.
Yeah.
You got to get up. This way, you just kind of. people move
And it
around
just made
easy.
the room look, it filled the room in a really cool way. Like it just
Yeah.
looked.
It was very, it was very elegant. It's really pretty. Hi, baby. Come lay down in the shade. Lay down in the shade.
Is there anything you guys would have added or could have, now looking back, like we could have done this or would have done that, or not really?
Within the first 20 minutes, I think I hugged every attendee. Mm-hmm. And there was one person I knew I hadn't yet, and I sought him out after dinner and gave him a hug. I could actually say hi to every single person.
That's huge.
Mm-hmm. But I did just remember one thing that we spent so much time on and energy and our arguments was the music, and it didn't even matter. He gave us this whole outline of like what to play when, you know, all the processional, what to play during cocktail or what to play during dinner, what to play, all of these. It was a complete outline, and we argued over it and we agonized over it.
Like in what way? Just hitting the right tone?
Like a no playlist, do play this, her list, my list, combined list, and we argued about it so much, and it didn't even matter at the end. Which I feel like is pretty common.
He didn't play it, or it didn't matter because
he didn't really
I don't really remember
follow
the music that played.
Yeah.
Like I remember the cake cutting song, and I remember the dancing music, which was like none of what we had actually asked for, but he kept it going, which is great. Like it just, in hindsight, we put so much energy into it, and he just took over, and it was good.
Cool.
In a good way.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, that was a lot of energy.
For our wedding, we didn't have a DJ. We just had like a playlist, whatever. But I literally scripted every single song for hours. It was literally every song for the happy hour, every song.
John's been preparing his whole life for this.
Every song for the dancing, literally song by song.
That's probably before like Spotify and stuff.
It was on iTunes, yeah.
That's kind of how I felt when we were creating the list. Like, if we're doing all this work, what do we need a DJ for? Like.
But he played I think he played a very active role. Like
it was fun for him to play some songs.
Well, and he read the room, and people were requesting songs, and he would play them.
He did great.
And that was like, you can't script that in advance or know what.
Yeah, we want to keep it intentional and just fun.
Oh, resounding success.
But I'm glad it's over.
Yeah.
In the best way.
Yeah, no, totally.
In the best way.
You have a life to live. It's not like you're living for a wedding.
All right. I hope you found some of their takeaways insightful. And remember, above all else, that keeping your celebration intentional, simple, and focused on the two of you is ultimately what matters the most when all is said and done. And something that seems like a huge question mark or just like a huge blurry spot that you can't figure out right now, and you wind up overly obsessing about and potentially arguing about. For Mike and Laura, it was their playlist. Just remember to keep things in perspective, and what seems like an impossible puzzle right now will always work itself out in the end. Switching gears just a little bit here, but also tying into Mike and Laura's thoughts about their DJ dancing and the kids at their wedding. Funny enough, we just went to a wedding this past weekend, and I had the exact same thought, that the kids really brought a ton of energy and made the evening on the dance floor extra fun and just a really, really special experience for everybody involved. We had 3 to 4 generations on this dance floor at the same time, which was just a really great experience. I hear from a lot of you about your crowd, your family and friends not being big dancers, and I can totally relate to this. I am in my 40s, and while my friends and I have shut down a club or 2 or 3 or 60 on the dance floor, these days, not so much. And then you add to that, not only are we now in our 40s, the older generations of our aunts and uncles, various family, grandparents, and I totally get why you would feel a little reluctant to focus your whole reception on dancing and to trust that enough people would find enjoyment in that to actually be out dancing for 2 to 3 hours over the course of the night. I will say it's all about the energy management of the crowd. And let me tell you, nothing can bring the energy up like a handful of fun, cute, exuberant kids who are super excited to dance. Throw in some neon glow sticks and a great DJ who can read the room. And I'd be willing to bet that your crowd of maybe mainly non dancers will happily be up on the dance floor throughout the night. This was definitely the case this past Saturday night, and one of the many reasons why Kevin and Amy's wedding was so special, so memorable, and just fun. I understand that having kids at the wedding is not for everyone. I completely respect that. As a side note, you may know this already if you're a longtime listener. John and I did not have any children at our wedding. And obviously, I see the situation differently now as a mom of two kids. But again, if you're on the fence about the dancing equation, I can be a firsthand witness to say that having kids out there kind of pumping everything up is really a lot of fun. So Kevin and Amy, they also did something that I want to highlight here. They collected guest song requests at the RSVP point. So it was a mandatory field when you originally submitted your RSVP, which I think is a really cool way to have complete confidence that you will be playing the exact music that your crowd wants to hear. They did have a professional DJ who was super laid back, energetic, intuitive. He could be a little bit of all things. And the best part was that the DJ was clearly having a great time keeping us all engaged and excited to be out there dancing. In addition to a full great night of dancing, there were a couple of other things about their celebration that I thought were really special. The first one being their venue, which was so unique. I will put a link in the show notes for anyone who's in Southern California. Again, this is near San Diego. Anyone down in this area, if you want to check out this venue after you hear more, I'll put that link for you to check when you have a hands-free moment. Anyway, they chose a nature center on a coastal lagoon in Carlsbad, California, which is about 25 miles north of San Diego. So the guests arrived at 5 o'clock. It was already closed to the public, and we had access to all of the interior spaces and also the exterior patio spaces. And the building itself and the patios were beautiful Southwest style architecture with the red clay roof and white walls. It was just so pretty. The views all looked to the west, so out to the ocean, beyond the lagoon, and it made for a perfect sunset backdrop to the ceremony, cocktails, dinner, and dancing. And they had a really great photographer who essentially stayed down on a lower level below the patio during golden hour and just stayed out there taking pictures of friends, families, groups, whoever wanted their picture taken with that beautiful sunset in the back, which was just awesome. And I can't wait to see those pictures. Some other highlights were the indoor spaces of the Nature Center that were specifically catered to kids and parents. And this was just a nice spot in general where people could take a break from the dance floor and the bar area and sit down in a comfy chair, cozy up for arts and crafts, and just be in a more quiet and relaxed space, which I think is a big plus at a wedding venue to offer people a little bit of an escape. Another fun part of their rental package for this venue was a showcasing of some of the center's wildlife, which included a falcon, the cutest pig, a giant tortoise, rabbits, and more. Kevin and Amy did a flawless job of incorporating their story and their personalities into their event from start to finish. And it was just really incredible to have the opportunity to see friends from across the country who we don't necessarily have a lot of chances to spend time together. And it was just a great reminder that your wedding is the perfect excuse for all the people you love most to come together and celebrate. And in the hustle and bustle of all of our daily lives, those moments of everyone being in the same space and time are just really, really, really precious. And then to wrap up this week's show, I do have some of your listener questions to share, starting with a somber note. And I'll go ahead and read this for you. I was wondering if you had any episodes on grief and loss in wedding planning. My mom passed away 2 years ago, and I want to find different ways to remember her and honor her, but don't want everyone to be sad when it comes up. Okay, thank you so much for being in touch with this note, and I am so very sorry for your mom's passing, which would be heavy and difficult to manage under any circumstances whatsoever. But what a difficult time managing all of those feelings in the midst of an engagement season when you are naturally very happy and very excited, but also have this emotional weight that you are carrying with you. So my heart goes to you. I'm sorry for your loss. Honoring your mom in whatever ways you choose is naturally going to stir up feelings of sadness and grief. And that's part of the love and the longing of our human experience. I wouldn't try to avoid those feelings or cover them up, either in you or in your wedding guests. It's a really beautiful expression of your heart and your relationship with your mother and your loss of your mother to honor her and remember her presence in the midst of your celebration. I would really try to focus on the ways that you can feel most complete and at peace, and without feeling like you need to also take on the grief and the emotions of your guests. I really hope that's helpful. Next listener question: any advice on dealing with super opinionated family members regarding our guest list? Okay, guest list is a hot button item right up there with the top most arguments that we have during the wedding planning process with our partner and our families. Honestly, who is footing the bill for this wedding might have a large influence on dealing with opinionated family members. Without more specifics about what actually your situation is, it's kind of hard to pin down the if, then, this, that. But in general, if you're accepting financial gifts from your family to cover expenses for the wedding, then generally the gift giver reserves the right to have a say in some, most, or all of the decisions. How much? That depends entirely on your relationship, your circumstances, culture, etc. If we're dealing with a situation where you and your partner are funding the wedding 100% on your own with no financial help coming in whatsoever, then my general guideline would be to give each side a very clear boundary. For example, if you both come from big families of extended aunts, uncles, cousins galore, and it's literally not possible to host a wedding that includes every single one of your family members, then your boundary, for example, could be, look, we can afford to host 25 family members that each side chooses, and that's the maximum that our budget can accommodate. I say it all the time, all the time. Obviously, there's a lot of compromise that goes into the process, and that goes from all sides. Choosing your guest list, like I mentioned at the top of this, is in the top handful of the most stressful wedding to-dos. So it is normal and very natural that you feel a lot of heat as you're having those discussions and as you work to come to a middle ground where everyone gets at least some of what they want. Okay, next up, I have a series of questions from Allison. The first one: we are not doing drink tickets. We are doing an open bar for a couple of hours, then transitioning to a cash bar. How should we tell our guests that and word it? Okay, so no drink tickets, open bar, then cash bar. I would have it built into your announcements, and this can be the DJ who's making your announcements or anyone else that you have in charge of that. I would have them give a couple of sets of audio instructions that summarize what's going on. So, for example, maybe in the welcome message, they can mention guests go enjoy hosted cocktails, beer, and wine through dinner. And then they could make 1 or 2 last call notices that the bar is going to be closing in 30 minutes or in 15 minutes to give kind of a countdown. I don't think any separate signage is necessary. I think that will just be confusing. So rely on whoever's doing your announcements to communicate those specifics to everyone there. Allison's next question is a bouquet and garter toss. Is this an antiquated tradition? Everyone's opinion is very different. I personally would classify this as a tradition that many couples are cutting out these days. I personally think it's kind of fun, but that is pretty dependent on your crowd. And you know your friends and your family way better than I do. The wedding that I just told you about that we went to this past weekend was a couple in their 40s, and they literally did not have any single friends. And actually, the bride did not even carry a bouquet. So in their case, they obviously did not include the toss. I did a bouquet toss at my wedding, but that was many, many, many moons ago. I would classify it as a matter of personal taste. If you guys are passionate about it, I think it's fun. If you're trying to cut fluff and keep things really streamlined and simple, then cutting this out is totally understandable too. And I don't think it's a big element that everyone's going to be scratching their heads and like, huh, wow, I really wonder why they didn't do a bouquet toss. So I hope that's helpful. And then Allison has one last question. What are your thoughts on how to end the night without doing a grand exit? We don't want to leave early. We want to be there and take the time to dance and spend time with our friends and our family. How would you suggest kind of wrapping up the night? So, Allison, you actually suggested within this question too, would you suggest doing a last song to conclude the night? That's exactly what I would do. I would sit down with your partner and think of some fun, maybe even like a last 3 songs. So the countdown starts at song number 3, 2, 1. Those can be 3 songs that you guys choose and give to your DJ and have him again make the announcements. We're going to do 3 more songs, folks. Have fun, keep dancing, and then kind of call them out that way. And that final song can just be kind of a symbolic wrap up, whether it's a song that the theme is like the night's over. I can think of some off the top of my head that would be fun. But I think that's like a very natural way to end things on a fun note and also for the 2 of you to be able to stay and still be involved. Okay, last question. Did all 75 of your guests stay at the mansion that you rented for your wedding? Quick, lightning, rapid fire summary here. John and I did rent a mansion here in La Jolla, California for our wedding. It was, 6,000 square feet, humongous, gorgeous property up on the hillside. It was a great venue. It has since been sold. It's no longer being rented out for private events, unfortunately. And no, we did not have all 75 of our guests stay there. It wasn't quite that big. We did have about 12 of our family members and portions of our wedding party stayed there. So it was a really fun way for us to be close with like a tight core group of people who were involved in the wedding, but everyone else stayed at various Airbnbs and hotels in the area. All right, that wraps it up for this week. Thank you always for being here and spending this time with me. If you have wedding questions or show topic requests that you would like me to weigh in on, don't be shy. I cannot do these shows without your participation. And I know you can ask ChatGPT, but this way is so much more fun. You can submit anything that's on your mind anytime by visiting our website, which is weddingplanningpodcast.co/contact. Of course, I will put a link to that in today's show notes. I thank you, my friend. I hope you have a great week, and I will meet you here again next week, same time, same place.